Today I'm going to be doing a demonstration mixing this color to match, and I'm going to paint it on this little board. This is just practice using your paints at home, so this is the set that you have. I have two greens in the set, Viridian green, which I've placed here, and grass green, which I've placed here, and I have put a little bit of white on my palette. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take the green and hold it up to the two different paints to see which is closer. And I think you would agree that Viridian green is probably closer. It has the same tone. So I'm going to take some of that Viridian green to the side, and I'm going to use white, but actually I changed my mind. I'm going to take the white first and put the Viridian green into that, because the white is actually weaker than the Viridian green. So we don't want to overpower. So I want to try to match the same value as this. So we're looking at this comparison, and it's getting close, but it seems a little too bright compared to the paper color. So what could I do to dull down this color, green? So there are a couple ways to dull down a color. A lot of this is getting used to your paints. What is the opposite of green? Well, if you look at the color wheel, we're looking at sort of a blue-green. Red-orange is the opposite. So let's do, let's use our vermilion red, because it appears to be a lot more orangey, and it is almost a red-orange. I'm gonna clean my palette knife off, and I'm gonna hold this up. It actually looks almost exactly red-orange, so I'm going to use this to dull down my color just a bit. So when I put in the vermilion, we definitely are starting to move closer. Now, the paint always dries a little bit darker, so we don't want to go too dark, but I think I am going to put a little more in there. And I'm not sure if it might need a little blue. So I might just take my ultramarine blue, which is more of a purpley blue. Put a little bit of that on my palette. And I might just put like a tiny little teeny bit of that into my color to maybe cool off the green just a smidge. And we'll see how that went. So notice I'm scraping the palette, smushing it down, scrape, smush. And actually that looks almost exact. So I'm gonna scrape up my paint, put it in a thick pile, and use my paintbrush, a wider brush. I can get a little water if I need to loosen the paint, but we don't want it to be thin, too thin. So we're gonna paint the edge of this board in nice smooth brush strokes. So it looks too light, but it also is very transparent. I didn't actually mix enough, so I'm gonna just mix that recipe again. Now, something that would be helpful to you would be to write down what you actually added in order to make a color. So what I could do is I need a little more white here. Remember, you can always take more paint, but you can't put it back in the tube. So take what you need, but don't take too much. I'm going to make a bigger pile of this paint, so I'm going to take some more of this. Now I'll take all the white and stick it into that pile. Scrape, scrape, scrape with the flat of my palette knife. It is looking a little dark, but I think that it's okay. We can still lighten it up a little bit. So we're getting there, and we still need to put a little of that blue in. Be careful not to put too much because it can really change the color quickly. And I do need a little more white. Too green, so we're going to put more blue, and we're going to put a little more red to dull it down. Now what happens when a color gets mixed and then you go too far? Well, you can always add a little of the pure original color back in if you need to. I'm noticing my color's a little too dark, so I'm going to put a little more white in there. So let's see, that looks almost perfect. I'm wondering if it might dry a little dark, so I'm gonna add just a little more white in there. Stir it up, scrape up my pile, and then paint over this block again. Does that look pretty close? Oh, it looks a little green actually. I had to stand up to see that. I'm gonna cool it down a little more. You can already see that it looks better. Sometimes when you're sitting, it's hard to really see what you're doing. I'm gonna lighten it up a little more. Notice that the white really isn't making a big difference in this pile of paint. It doesn't turn it a lot lighter because basically the green is too strong. I'm gonna rinse my brush to get out that other paint, and I'm actually gonna paint on the other side of this little thing just so that I don't have to wait for that other color to dry. So here's our first thin coat. Might want to blow it a little bit. Could use the hair dryer. And soon we'll put on the second coat. Paint looks very, very wet. And there you go. So like you can see that when I first did it, it was really close, but it wasn't quite perfect. So I tried again, and now it is perfect. So when mixing, you really have to pay close attention to the subtle warms, cools, and dullness of the color in order to get the most appropriate, perfect mixture. So I hope that was helpful. Bye.